Ja, verehrte Thầy, liebe Brüder, liebe Schwester,
Respected Thai, dear brother, dear sister, today we are going to learn about the practice of touching the earth. This practice of touching the earth allows us to return to the earth, to our roots, and it helps us to recognize that we are not alone, but we are connected with a whole succession of spiritual and physical ancestors. We are their continuation, and in future generations we will continue this succession. We touch the earth and we let go of the idea that we are isolated and alone, and we remember that we are the earth and part of life. When we touch the earth, we become small, modest, and humble, simply like a child. And when we touch the earth, we may become tall like an old tree, which is firmly rooted in the ground and which drinks from the source of all water. And when we touch the earth, we breathe in the strength and solidity of the earth, and we breathe out our suffering. We breathe out our feelings of anger, of hatred, of anxiety, of being not enough, insufficient, and also our feelings of mourning. And there are three essential features in Buddhism. The first feature is impermanence. And in order to learn the truth and to practice the truth of impermanence, the training is to do the 5 mindfulness trainings, and by doing them we are aware that all phenomena in life and the world are permanent, are impermanent. And the second feature of Buddhism is the concept of being interwoven, of non-self, and all forms of appearance are interwoven. We are interconnected with everything. We are not separate from the others. And the third feature is nirvana, the total liberation, the extinction of all adherence. And the practice of touching the earth helps us to understand this second feature, the concept of non-self, of realizing ourselves. There is no interdependent existence. There is no independent self, and the practice of touching the earth is the central practice to understand this concept of non-self. It helps us at a very concrete level to understand this notion of non-self. And non-self is not just a term that we need to understand, but it's a reality. The practice of touching the earth helps us to free ourselves from the feeling of loneliness and isolation, and it helps us to heal and touch all those wounds within us. Many wounds stem from our childhood or from different phases in our lives. Often they are passed on from former generations to us, and they are transferred to us. And these wounds and injuries, we also pass them on in some form, or in one form or the other, to our next generation. The practice of touching the earth is a practice which shows us a way to live happily and enjoy, and not to perceive ourselves as being an isolated and small self. Because if we believe that we are an independent self, then we are lonely and isolated. And this is a big problem in our modern life. When we say, I am an independent self, then this means I am a tree, but I don't have any roots. A tree without roots will immediately fall down even in a minor storm, and many people have difficulty to understand the concept of non-self and to accept it. They think, well, all my life I have spent building up this self. I have done a lot of trainings, I have obtained many certificates and put a lot of work into that, and should I really throw all that overboard? Because there is a non-self? If we understand that we are part of the whole of mankind, then we have roots which are very firmly rooted. The storms in our lives are not able to shake us very strongly. And I would like to invite you to contemplate on this truth of a non-self. And therefore it's good that now we are going to do a little meditation and we come back to our body. We are closing our eyes and we come back to our breath. We breathe, we take a few deep breaths in and out.
Einatmend weiß ich, dass es
breathing in, I know that there is no independent and separate self. Everything that exists, every form of appearance, depends on all other things that exist. Out, breathing out, I recognize that we only exist because our mother and father existed, and these existed because there were our grandparents and an almost endless succession of ancestors from former times without beginning.
Einatmend wissen wir,
breathing in, we know that we usually are very concerned about our independence and our individuality, and we are very proud of that. Breathing out, we know that this results in our cutting ourselves more and more from others who are not the way we would like them to be. This cutting off that we originally used as a strategy to feel more happiness may cause tremendous suffering, and it may lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness.
Einatmen wissen wir,
breathing in, we know that if at a deeper level we have no or almost no connection with other men, animals or plants, and we don't allow ourselves to be touched by others, and if we are not prepared to touch others, then we may have painful feelings of the absurdity of our existence. Breathing out,
Wir müssen die
we know
Verbindung, den Kontakt zu unseren
that we have to
Blutsverwandten,
look for
Vorfahren,
and consolidate the
unseren Eltern,
connection and the
unsere
contact
Großeltern und so
with
weiter
our physical
und unsere
ancestors, our
spirituelle
parents and
Vorfahren
grandparents and so
und auch zu
on,
den
and also
Vorfahren
our spiritual
unseres Landes
ancestors,
suchen
and also
und
the
immer wieder vertiefen.
ancestors, our cultural ancestors. And we have to look for that connection and contact, and we have to deepen it again and again.
Dass wir kein
Breathing
kleiner,
in,
isolierter
we
Tropfen
see
Wasser,
that we are no small, isolated drop of water,
von Wesen
but
sind,
part of a
der
big
seit unendlichen
succession
Zeiten
and
fließt
river of
und
beings
auch noch sehr lange
which has
fließen
been
wird.
flowing endlessly and which will flow
Ausatmend
forever and ever.
Fühlen wir uns großartig
Breathing out,
und zu Leid
we
geborgen
feel
und
great
gewinnen das Verständnis
and
von
safe at the
Leerheit.
same time. And we
verstehen
understand
die
the
Leerheit
concept of
aller
emptiness.
Erscheinungsformen
We
und die
understand
Vergänglichkeit
the concept
aller
of emptiness
Erscheinungsformen.
of all forms of appearance and
ist
the
keine
impermanence
Theorie,
of all forms of
sondern
appearance.
eine Realität.
These are no theories, but it is reality.
Einatmend sehen wir, dass wir aus
Breathing
lauter
in,
Elementen
we
und
see
Energien bestehen,
that we are
die uns
composed
von
of
unseren Vorfahren
many elements and
übertragen
energies that were passed on
Wir
to
haben
us
viele
by our
wunderbare
ancestors.
Energien und wir haben
We have
auch
many
etliche
wonderful
schwierige
energies,
Energien
and we also
mitbekommen.
have many difficult energies
Ausatmend,
that were passed on to
wir
us.
anerkennen die
Breathing
heilsamen
out,
Energien von
we
unseren
recognize the
Vorfahren
healing energies
und wir fordern
that were
diese
passed on to
Energien
us
in
by our
uns.
ancestors,
Wir wollen
and
die
we
unheilsamen
nurture these
Energien
energies
unseren
within us.
Vorfahren transformieren.
We would like to transform the
Vielleicht
negative
war
energies
unsere
of our
Mutter oder
ancestors,
unser Vater
the
mitfühlend,
unbeneficial
liebevoll,
ancestors. Maybe our mother or
bescheiden
father
und
was
großzügig.
compassionate, loving,
Diese
modest,
wunderbare
and generous.
Eigenschaften wollen wir anerkennen,
These wonderful characteristics, we would like to
und in uns
acknowledge and
fördern.
appreciate them. And we would like
Vielleicht
to
die Art
nurture
und
them
Weise
within
des
us, these
Denkens,
wonderful characteristics.
Sprechens und Handelns unserer Vorfahren
Maybe
uns selbst
our way of
und
thinking,
anderen
talking, and
Leiden
acting
bringt.
that was passed on to us
Diese
by our
schwierigen
ancestors
Eigenschaften
creates suffering for
sollen wir
us and
transformieren.
others. And we should transform these difficult
Vielleicht
energies
kritisiert
and
die Mutter
and
oder
characteristics.
Vater uns sehr oft
Maybe our mother or
gebrauchte
father
herabsetzende
criticized us very
Worte
often and used
oder sie demütigend
derogative
uns
words,
durch körperliche
or
Gewalt
they
oder
humiliated
sogar durch
us
sexuellen
by
Missbrauch.
using physical violence
Wir
or
können
even
uns darin
sexual
üben,
abuse.
uns selbst mit vollem,
We may
mit
practice
vollem Mitgefühl zu umarmen.
embracing
den
ourselves
Schmerz
full of
dieser Wunden
compassion
in uns zu
in
lindern.
order to slowly ease the pain of these wounds within us.
Auch unsere spirituellen Vorfahren haben uns ihre
And our
guten
spiritual ancestors have also passed on
Auch unsere spirituellen Vorfahren haben uns ihren
also
guten
our
und
spiritual
weniger guten
ancestors
Energie
have passed
übertragen.
on their good and bad
Der
energies
Pfarrer,
to
unser
us.
Heimatdorf, unsere
The
Religion,
pastor in my hometown
Lehrer, Lehrerinnen,
and
sie
our
alle
teacher of
sind vielleicht
religion, they all
gutmütige, mitfühlende
may have
Menschen,
been very good and
aber auch unsere
compassionate
spirituellen
persons.
Vorfahren waren oft
But
nicht
also our
vollkommen.
spiritual
Und manche
ancestors
von ihnen haben
were
sogar
not
tiefe
complete
Wunden
quite
in uns
often, and many of
verursacht,
them
wie unsere blutsverwandten
caused deep wounds
Vorfahren.
within us, just like our physical ancestors.
Und wir denken auch an die Vorfahren unseres Landes,
And we also think
alle die
of
Menschen,
our
die viel
cultural
Sorgfalt und
ancestors,
Mühe
all those
aufgebracht
persons.
haben,
You envision
die
all these
schwer
peoples who
arbeiten
worked so
müssten,
hard
die die ganze
to
Infrastruktur mit Schulen, Straßen und
build
Krankenhäusern,
the
die
infrastructure of
Gesetzgebung,
our country, like
sozialen
schools
Versicherung
and
und
hospitals and
Kultur
legislation, social insurance
Aber wir
and
sehen
culture,
auch die
cultural
Grausamkeit,
institutions.
Herzucht und
But we also see the
Gewalttätigkeit
cruelty
unserer
and
Landesvorfahren.
vengefulness and violence of our cultural ancestors.
Wenn wir uns dieser schwierigen Energien unserer Vorfahren
If
in
we are
uns
aware of
bewusst werden
these difficult energies
und wenn
of
wir
our
bereit
ancestors
sind,
within us,
sie zu transformieren,
and when we are ready to
brauchen wir
transform
weniger
them,
Angst davor zu haben,
we need to be
dass
less
uns diese
afraid
Energien dominieren
of
und wir
these
bewusst oder
energies
unbewusst
dominating us
weitergeben.
and our passing
Wir
them
können dann die
on
vielen wunderbaren
consciously or
Energien
unconsciously.
aller unserer Vorfahren,
We will be able to
spirituellen
recognize
Vorfahren,
all these wonderful energies of
Großvorfahren,
our ancestors within us,
Landesvorfahren
of this,
in uns erkennen
of be it the
und sie
spiritual
schätzen
or
lernen
physical or cultural
und
ancestors
unsere
within us,
Bereitschaft
and
stärken,
we may
diese
learn to
Samen
appreciate
in
them
uns zu
and also to
entwickeln
strengthen
und
our willingness
weiterzugeben.
to cultivate these seeds within us and to pass them on.
Aber auch die Nahrungsmittel, die wir zu uns nehmen,
And also
können wir als unsere Vorfahren
we can also
begreifen.
conceive the
Jede
food that
Karotte,
we eat as
Nudel,
being part of our
jedes
ancestors.
Gemüse,
Every carrot,
Obst,
noodle,
Tofu,
every
alles, was wir
vegetable,
essen
fruit,
und trinken,
tofu,
lässt uns
whatever
am
we
Leben
eat and
bleiben.
drink
Genauso wie die Elemente
sustains
der Erde,
us,
des Wassers,
just like
der
the
Luft,
elements
der
of
Sonne
earth,
und
of
des
water,
Mondes,
of the air,
die an der
the sun, and the
Entstehung
moon,
dieser Nahrungsmittel
which
beteiligt sind.
they all have contributed
Alles
to the
trägt
existence
dazu
of these
bei,
foodstuffs.
dass wir leben.
And all this
Ohne
contributes
diese Energien
to our
gibt es uns
existence,
nicht.
to our life. We would not exist without these energies.
Einatmend erinnere ich mich an die
Breathing
unzähligen
in, I
Elemente,
remember the
die ich
countless
heute
elements
mit meiner Nahrung
which I
zu
have
mir
consumed
genommen
today with my
Harte
food,
Flocken, Obst, Gemüse,
like oatmeal,
Nudeln,
fruit,
Reis
vegetables,
und so weiter.
pasta, rice,
Ausatmend
etc.
bedanke ich mich bei all
Breathing
diesen
out,
Energien
I give
und
thanks
lächeln
to all
ihnen
these
zu.
energies and I smile at them.
Einatmend erinnere ich mich an
Breathing
alle die
in,
Energien,
I
die diese
remember
Nahrungsmittel
all the energies
hervorgebracht haben.
that produced
Erde,
these foodstuffs,
Wasser, Luft,
the earth,
Sonne,
water, the air,
Landarbeiter,
the sun,
Arbeiterinnen,
agricultural
Verkäufer,
workers,
Verkäuferinnen.
salespersons.
Ausatmend bedanke ich mich bei
Breathing
all
out,
diesen Energien
I give thanks
und
to all
lächle
these
ihnen
energies and smile at them.
Einatmend spüre ich die Festigkeit
Breathing
der
in,
Erde unter mir.
I feel the solidity of the
Ausatmend
earth beneath me.
fühle ich mich verbunden
Breathing
mit allen
out,
Wesen,
I feel
die mit
connected with
in
all
diesem
beings
Augenblick auf dieser
living
Erde leben
with me
und
on this
lächle ihnen
earth
zu.
at this moment, and I smile at them.
Jung. Das ist die Vorstellung über die Erdberührung und jetzt kommen wir zu der Praxis.
This is the idea
Wir
of
wissen,
touching the earth.
dass
And now we are going
wir
to talk
Menschen,
about
wir
the
sind wie
practice.
Bäume.
We know
Und
that
die Bäume können
we
nur wachsen,
men
wenn
are like
sie,
trees, and trees can
Sonne
only grow
haben, wenn
if
sie
they have
Wurzeln
sun,
haben. Und ohne Wurzeln
if
können
they
die
have
Bäume nicht
roots,
wachsen. Wir Menschen
and
sind
without
genauso.
roots, the
Wir haben
trees
auch
would not be
Wurzeln.
able to grow.
Und einer der
And that
wichtigsten
also
Wurzeln,
goes for
die
us.
wichtigste
We
Wurzel
men
von
also
uns
have roots, and
sind
one
das
of the most
unsere
important
leibligen
roots
Vorfahren, unseren Eltern, unsere Großeltern.
is our
Sie sind diese
physical
starke
ancestors,
Wurzeln.
our parents and
Wenn
grandparents,
wir aus Ungeschicklichkeit,
and they
aus
are these
Unachtsamkeit
strong
in
roots.
der Vergangenheit diese Wurzeln
If
verletzt haben,
in the
wir haben uns
past
von unseren Eltern
we
getrennt und
inadvertently
wir sind von unseren
injured
Eltern
these
verletzt
roots,
oder
we
wir
may
haben
have
unseren
split up with
Eltern,
our
unseren
parents,
Vorfahren
or we
verletzt,
have been
dann
injured by our
möchten wir
parents, or
äh,
we injured
sehr
our
wichtig,
parents and
dass wir die
ancestors,
Versöhnung
then
mit ihnen wieder herbeiführen,
it is very
damit wir diese
important
Wurzeln wieder
to
retten können.
to find reconciliation with
Und
them,
diese zweite
to
wichtigste
save these
Wurzel
roots.
ist unser spiritueller
And the
Vorfahren.
second important
Und
root is
das
our
geht
spiritual
nicht nur
ancestors.
von unseren Religion, von Buddha,
And this
von
does
Jesus
not only
Christus,
go for
sondern das geht
religion,
auch für alle Menschen,
like
die
Buddha
uns auf
and
diese
Jesus Christ, but that also
spirituelle Pfad gebracht haben.
to all
Unsere
people who
Religion,
accompanied
Lehrer,
us
Lehrerinnen,
on the
unsere
spiritual
Pfarrer,
path and who brought
unsere
us
Mönche
to
und
this
Nonnen
path, like
in
our
den,
religious teachers, our
in den
monks
Pagoden,
and
im
nuns and
Kloster,
pastors
in der Kirche. Aber es sind auch
in a
unsere Brüder
monastery,
und Schwestern in
but
der
that also goes for
spirituellen
our brothers
Gemeinschaft,
and sisters
unseren Freundinnen, die
in our
uns
spiritual
dann
communities, our
begleiten
friends
auf dieser spirituelle Pfad, alle
who accompany
denken an
us
unser
on this spiritual
spirituelle
path, all
Vorfahren. Und dann gibt es noch
are
eine andere
considered
Wurzel,
as our spiritual
Wurzeln
ancestors.
der
And then
Landesvorfahren.
there is another root,
Das sind die Menschen, dieses
the
Land
root of
aufgebaut
our
haben.
cultural ancestors. Those
Die
are the
Straßen,
persons who
die
built up this
Schule,
country.
Diese
The roads, schools,
Infrastruktur aufgebaut haben. Das sind alle
the
diese
infrastructure
Wurzeln.
who
Und
built up all
andere
this.
Wurzeln, die
And
auch
all
noch sehr
these
wichtig
are
sind, das
roots.
sind unseren
And the other roots,
Freude,
which are also very important,
unseren Verwandten,
that is our joy,
unseren Nachbarn,
our
unseren
relatives,
Kollegen. Und wenn wir
our neighbors,
Freudenkreis
our
haben,
colleagues,
das
our
stärkt
friends.
uns auch. Wenn wir einen
And if we
guten
have a number
Freudenkreis
of
haben,
friends,
das stärken wir
this
auch.
also
Und das sollen wir
supports
auch
us to
finden,
have a good
stärken
number
und
of friends,
kräftigen.
and we should also
Und heute möchten
we
wir
should also
diese
nurture this
Praxis
and
der
support this
Berührung
and strengthen this. And
vorstellen.
today
Und
we
es
would
gibt dann
like
die Form,
to
wie wir
introduce this
das
practice of touching
praktizieren.
the earth to you.
Diese
And then there
Praxis der Erdberührung
we have a form how we do
gibt es
this.
nicht
This
nur
practice
in
of
dem
touching the
Buddhismus,
earth
sondern auch in anderen
does not only
Religionen.
exist in Buddhism,
Wir berühren
but
die
also in
Erde.
other
Wir kommen
religions.
zu unserer Mutter
We touch the
Erde
earth.
zurück, denn von da aus sind wir
We are
geboren.
coming back to
Und wenn
Mother
wir zurück
Earth.
zur Mutter Erde kommen,
And from then
haben wir
on,
das
from there we
Gefühl
were
der
born. And if we
Geborgenheit,
return
der
to Mother
Sicherheit,
Earth,
der
we
Stabilität.
have the
Und so
feeling of
berühren
being
wir die
safe
Erde,
and
um
stable.
diese Energie zu
And
berühren.
thus we touch the earth
Und gleichzeitig, wenn wir die Erde berühren,
in order to touch this
geben wir
energy.
alle unseren Leiden,
And at the same time,
alle
if we
unsere
touch the earth,
Schwierigkeiten, alle unsere
we
Negativenergien
give all
ab.
our suffering, all our difficulty and negative
was wir nicht
energies,
mögen, an die
we
an
give
die
it.
Erde ab. Und die
All the
Erde
things we don't
haben dann
need,
die
we give them to Earth. And the
Fähigkeit,
earth
alles zu transformieren, was
is
wir
able
leiden, was
to
wir nicht
transform
an
all
uns
this.
mögen, was wir vergessen,
all our suffering, all the things we don't like about us, our wounds, everything that has injured us, and the earth is going to transform all that into flowers, flowers of compassion, flowers of understanding within us. And the earth is also going to transform all our wounds. And if we get up, we will be a new person. We have the good energy of the earth within us and the freshness. We have the freshness within us. And we have got rid of our suffering. We are getting up fresh and newborn. And now we would like to touch the earth with you together. We would like to do this practice of touching the earth with you. So we are going to read a text, and this text is just a pattern. But if you practice at home, then you can write your own text which is suitable for your situation. And what we read now is just a pattern. And we could also practice this pattern but at home, but later, if we know this practice, we can write our own text which suits our situation. We will show you the form of touching the earth. So first we stand up in an upright position like a tree. So our head is upright like a tree with all its branches. And we stand upright, we receive the energy of the sun and of the universe. And with our feet, our roots, we stand firmly rooted in the ground and we take in the energy of the earth. We stand upright like a tree. We are deeply rooted in the ground, in the earth. And then we fold our hands like a lotus bud. And we say, from the bottom of my heart, with all my being, I lift my hands to the front, and with my whole body I touch the earth. And first we touch the earth with our hands, then with our knees, and at last with our feet and our front. And we say that we have 5 points of touching the earth. The first 2 points are our hands, then our knees, and the 5th point of contact is our front. And we sit in a way that we are comfortable, that we get as close to the earth as possible, and then with both hands, with both of our hands, we put the palms down to the earth in order to pass on all our negative energies, the energies we don't like, so that we pass them on to the earth, all our wounds, our injuries, all our negative emotions. We pass them onto the earth, and then we turn the palms to show that we have nothing to hide. We are totally open, all our strengths, and it's not our own strength, all our good qualities. We all only received them from our ancestors, physical ancestors, spiritual ancestors, and from our environment. And also all bad qualities, we don't have to feel any complex because of that, because this was transferred to us by others. And now we are free. We pass on, we show all our strengths and weaknesses, and we have no feeling of inferiority or superiority, we have no complex of suffering. And in this position, a text will be read to us, and we contemplate on this text, and at the end we get up again and we turn the palms up again and we get up again. Okay? And now I would like to give you some forms. If you can't lie down and we have something may ache, or if we have some pain, so we can put the feet a little bit further apart, and if we go down, our tummy can be between our thighs, so that it will be less painful and we can remain longer on the earth. And another form, the long form, is the Tibetan form. And we say again, from the bottom of my heart, I'm touching the earth. And then we totally lie down with our whole body. And if we can't breathe, we can put our hands in a position that we can put our front on our hands so that we are able to breathe. We can also lie on the side. The most important thing is that we are in a comfortable position. We get up again, and now we are going to practice.
Zunächst stehen wir aufrecht, sind in Berührung mit unserem Atem.
So first we stand in an upright position. We are in contact with our breath.
Die Hände vor der Brust zu einer Lotusblüte geformt.
And we fold our hands in front of our chest in the form of a lotus bud.
Genießen wir 3 Klänge der Glocke.
And now we enjoy 3 sounds of the bell.
Einatmend beruhige ich mich. Ausatmend
breathing
entspanne ich mich.
I calm down. Breathing out,
Ich stehe aufrecht wie
I
ein
relax.
Baum, gut verwurzelt in der
I
Erde.
stand firmly rooted like a
Ich bringe
tree,
meine Aufmerksamkeit
deeply rooted in
zu
the
meiner
ground.
Blutsfamilie,
I bring my
meiner genetischen
attention
Familie.
to my blood relatives, my physical
Und
family.
ich denke an meinen Vater.
And I think of my father.
Diesen jungen Mann, so dynamisch,
Father,
so
I see
intelligent, lebendig
this young
in meinem
man,
ganzen
so
Körper.
dynamic, so
Ich fühle
intelligent,
deine
and
Vitalität in meinem
living
ganzen
vivid in my
Körper.
whole body. I feel your
Dein klarer
vitality
Verstand
in
ist
all of
auch
my
in
body.
mir.
Your clear mind is
Ich bin die
also within me.
Fortführung dieses Verstandes.
I am your
Ich fühle in dir das
continuation of
große
this
Bedürfnis,
mind.
etwas Herausragendes
Within
zu
you,
tun.
I feel the great
Nicht nur
need
für deine Familie,
to achieve something
möchtest etwas
extraordinary,
Gutes
not only
tun
for your
für die
family.
ganze Gesellschaft, für die ganze
You wanted
Nation.
to do good things for the
Auch
whole
wenn
of
du nicht viel
society, for the
erreicht
whole
hast,
nation.
Spüre ich dieses Bedürfnis
Even
in
if you
mir,
didn't
das
achieve
auch
much,
in mir
I
noch so
feel
lebendig
this
ist,
this need within me, which is still so vivid and within me. I will continue your need, Father. And now I would like you to think of the good and wonderful qualities of your Father. And now I invite you to think of all the good and wonderful qualities of your mother. Mother, I see this young woman, so fresh, so loving, so beautiful. I can feel the freshness of your skin on my skin. I see your loving, the loving look of your eyes, the way you looked at us children, the way you looked at your husband, so full of love and care. This great love inside you. You expressed it with your beaming eyes, and I feel that this great love is also within me. In my whole being, it is vivid and alive. Now we think of the goodness, of the wonderful qualities of our mother.
Und jetzt möchte ich euch einladen, an euren
And now
Großeltern zu denken.
I would like to invite you
Großvater,
to think
an
of
die
your grandparents,
Großmutter,
your grandfather, your grandmother,
alle die wunderbaren Eigenschaften von unseren
all
Großeltern.
those wonderful qualities of our grandparents.
Alle meine Großeltern, mein Vater, meine Mutter,
My grandparents, my father, my mother,
mit alle diese
all
wunderbaren
of them
Qualitäten.
are alive inside of me with all those wonderful qualities.
Und wir berühren jetzt die Erde.
And we are touching the earth.
Ich sehe meine Wurzel in meiner Mutter, meinem Vater,
I see my roots in my mother,
meiner Großmutter,
my father,
meinem Großvater und in allen
my
meinen
grandmother,
Vorfahren.
my grandfather,
Ich weiß,
and
dass
in
ich
all my
nur die
ancestors.
Weiterführung dieser
I know
Ahnensreihe bin.
that I'm only the continuation of this succession of ancestors. Please pass on your strength and power to me and preserve them. I know that everywhere we find kids and grandparents, there are ancestors. I know that parents love their children and grandchildren and that they support them, even if due to their own difficulties they are not always find the best way to express their love. I recognize that my ancestors have tried to lead a life based on gratitude, joy, trust, respect, and loving sympathy, and being the successor of these ancestors, I deeply bow and I loathe them. To pass on their energy to me and to being filled with this energy. I recognize that my ancestors have tried to lead a life that was based on gratitude, joy, trust, respect, and loving sympathy. Being the successor of these ancestors, I deeply bow and I allow their energy to be passed on to me and to be filled with this energy. I ask my ancestors for support, protection and strength. And I let go of everything. I give myself in order to become one with Earth, and so I can accept what Earth gives to me, everything that appears. The Earth is so rich and so deep. The Earth is going to take in all the negative behaviors, those of my father, things that I suffered from. And now we think of the difficult qualities of our father. Father, the way you assessed me and judged me was so hard. Your sarcastic words hurt me so much, so deeply. I really suffered from the things you did. And the Earth is going to take in all these bad things you passed on to me. I'm passing on to the Earth your cold face, Father, great-grandfather. If you were not happy with me, you looked at the family with such cold eyes, and I'm passing on to the Earth all that negative behavior which made us suffer. And now we think of the difficult qualities of our mother. Mother, your desperation, your constant complaints that we didn't love you enough, or that we were too selfish. You made us suffer a lot. Now I'm passing on to the Earth your unjust or unjust behavior, unfair behavior. Mother, I am trying not to treat my beloved ones in the same way. The Earth is going to take in and to all these negative forms of behavior of my father, of my mother, of my grandparents, my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle. All these bad things that you did. And the Earth is going to transform all of them into flowers of understanding. And these flowers of understanding will be in my heart. And very slowly the situation will change. Now we are getting up. Breathing in, I calm down. Breathing out, I relax. Now I'm a new person. All my unrest, my anxiety, my fear, my illness, and my anger, I let go. All of that. The Earth has taken in all my negative energy. The Earth has taken in the things that were difficult for me and that were hard to me to accept, and the earth transformed all that. I stand upright like a tree, deeply rooted in the ground. I try to heal my first root, the roots of my physical family, of my blood family. How wonderful it is that all these negative behaviors of my family have been passed on to the earth. I feel that in this body there are countless young women and men of my blood family, and they are alive in my body. I have no independent self. My self comprises the wonderful self of my mother, of my father, of my grandparents, and of all ancestors of my blood family, my physical family. I will never feel lonely, because if I look deeply, I see all of you alive in this body of mine. And with the next sound of the bell, we bow before our spiritual ancestors. I thankfully bow to all generations of my spiritual family. I recognize within me my teachers, those who showed me the path of love and understanding, the path of breathing mindfully, to smile, to forgive, and to live in the here and in the now. I recognize, with the help of my teachers, I recognize all teachers who have contributed to my development, all the spiritual teachers over many generations, all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Buddha Shakyamuni, who lived more than 2,500 years ago, and he founded my spiritual family. My teachers not only stem from the Buddha, but also from the prophets, from the prophet Jesus Christ, and the teachers of the spiritual traditions that my spiritual ancestors adhere to, like Christianity. The energy of all generations of my spiritual ancestors has seized me, and it produces peace, understanding, and loving kindness within me. And I know that the energy of the spiritual teachers have transformed the world deeply. Without the Buddha and all spiritual ancestors, I would not know about this practice that gives me peace and joy and happiness in my life and in the life of my family and society. I open my heart and my body in order to obtain the strength of power and goodness and awakened love, and also the protection. I am the continuation of the awakened teacher, the doctrines of truth and community, and all the practitioners. I ask all my spiritual ancestors to pass on their never-ending source of peace, joy, stability, understanding, and love, to pass this on to me. I would like to practice transforming the suffering inside of me and in the world. And I will use the strength of my spiritual family and pass it on to future generations of practitioners. Now we get up
Einatmen fühle ich mich so friedlich.
Breathing in,
Ausatmen entspanne
I
ich
feel
mich.
so peaceful. Breathing out, I relax.
Ich werde jetzt mich verbinden mit
Now
meinen
I
Landesvorfahren,
will
meine
connect
Wurzeln, meine
with
Landesvorfahren.
my cultural ancestors, the roots of my cultural ancestors.
Wir berühren die Erde.
We are touching the earth.
Dankbar verneige ich mich vor diesem Land und alle Vorfahren.
Full of gratitude, I bow to this country and all ancestors who made it a place where you could live. I see that I'm whole and protected by this country and all beings who lived here. And with all their hard work, they made this life possible and easy for me. I see all the known and unknown persons who, with their different talents and their hard work and love, made this country a place where people of various origins can live now. I see them all who worked so hard to build schools, hospitals, and bridges and roads, who preserved the dignity of mankind, who developed technological items, and who fought for freedom and social justice. I feel one with my ancestors who lived in this country for a long time. I see the ancestors who lived in peace with nature and who knew how to do this, and forests and trees and plants and animals and minerals of this country were preserved by them. I feel how the power of this country penetrates my body and my mind, and it supports me and it accepts me. I promise to support this power and to sustain it and to pass it on to future generations. I promise to contribute, to make my contribution to avoid hatred and deceiving, which are still deeply rooted within this society, and to transform it so that future generations can live in peace and safety and in great joy. I'm asking this country for its protection and its support. We get up.
Ich stehe aufrecht wie ein Baum.
I stand upright like a tree, deeply rooted in the ground. I feel the energy of the stability and fearlessness within me. I feel the joy of life, of being alive, and I'm sending this energy, this positive energy, to all those that I love.
Alle die ganze wunderbare Energie, die ich durch die Erdberührung
all those wonderful energies that I have collected by touching the earth, I would like to first pass them to my inner child, to the child within me, because there were many injuries there, and this small child inside of me needs healing. I feel the nectar of loving kindness and compassion within me.
Und alle die Kraft, die ich erhalten habe, möchte ich jetzt
and all the strength I have received, now I would like to pass on to my mother, to my father, and all those who I love, and all those who had to suffer because of myself and who worried about myself. I know that in my daily life I haven't been mindful enough. I also know that those who love me with their own difficulties, they had to fight their own difficulties, and they suffered from not being fortunate enough to live in an environment which enabled them to fully develop their personality. I allow my energy to flow to my mother and my father, my brothers and sisters, my friends, my partner, my children, so that their sorrows may be eased and they can smile and that they can feel the joy of life. I want them all to be happy and healthy. I know that I am also happy when they are. I don't feel any anger towards any of them now. I'm asking that all ancestors of my blood family and my spiritual family pass their energy to all of them in order to protect all of them. I know that I am not isolated from them. I am one and connected with all those that I love. We are getting up.
Ich stehe aufrecht wie ein Baum, gut verwuchsen in der Erde.
I stand upright like a tree, deeply rooted in the ground. With the next act of touching the earth, we are connecting with all beings of all kinds.
Ich berühre die Erde und ich fühle mich mit allen Wesen aller Arten verbunden.
And I feel connected with all beings of all types who now live with me in this universe at this moment. I am one with the wonderful structure of life that is reflected in all directions. I see a close connection between me and others and how we share our happiness and also our suffering. I see that I am one with great beings that you can find everywhere. These beings are part of me. They are able to live without fear and to consider the forms of life, death, and suffering without fear, and by them, through them, I touch fearlessness inside of me, and I have a peace of my soul and understanding and the love of these great beings within me. They are able to be in touch with the loving and nourishing qualities, and so am I, and they embrace the world with their caring deeds and with their love, and so do I, just like them. I have peace and joy and freedom within me, and I can pass on this glee and joy to others. I see myself as a great being, and I see the great beings within me. The suffering that I have to face is not my own suffering. It is the suffering of the cosmos. I suffer from tsunami, from earthquakes. I suffer from the coronavirus, from that crisis. I suffer if a small fish is hunted by a big fish, and then I feel its fear. My anxiety is not my own anxiety, but the anxiety of all generations and all beings, appearances. I see myself in all species, and all species are within me. And I am in deep contact with the suffering of all beings, so that the energy of compassion within me can arise and grow. I'm not feeling lonely and isolated anymore, because I'm one with all the things that exist in the universe. I'm letting go of all ideas of being isolated from the beings around me and the persons around me. I let go of all anxiety, of all anger. If I still feel any of that within me. We are getting up. We are standing upright like a tree, deeply rooted in the ground, and we follow our breath. And with the last act of touching the earth, I let go of the idea that I am this body and that my life is limited. I am touching the earth. I'm letting go of the idea that I am this body. And my life, the time of my life is limited. I see that this body, which is made of water and air and by fire, that this body is not really me. And I'm not limited by this body. I'm part of a living river and succession of spiritual and physical ancestors, which has been flowing for thousands of years to the present moment, which will continue to flow to the future. I'm one with my ancestor and with all human beings and all species. Be them peaceful and fearless, or full of suffering and full of anxiety. At this moment, I am everywhere on this planet, and I am present everywhere on this planet. I am also present in the past and in the future. And the experience of this body does not touch me, and the falling of a branch of a tree doesn't mean that the tree is ended. I see myself as a wave on the ocean. My nature is the water of the sea. I see myself in all other waves. I see all the other waves within me. And the existence and passing of a wave does not touch the ocean. And my Dharma body and my spiritual life are not subjected to birth and death. I see my existence from the creation of my body and after the dissolution of my body. And even at this moment, I see how I am not only in this body, but I also exist elsewhere. 70 or 80 years are not the time of my life. The time of my life is like that of a tree or that of a Buddha. It's unlimited. I have overcome the idea that I was a body which exists and which is isolated from other forms of being in the dimensions of time and space. We are getting up.
Wir stehen auf und falten die Hände zusammen.
We are standing up and we are folding our hands.
Mögen alle Wesen friedvoll, glücklich und leicht sein.
May all beings be peaceful, happy, and light in their body and their mind. May all beings be free from anger and fear and anxiety. And from entanglements, may we learn to see ourselves with the eyes of love and understanding. May we be able to cultivate the seeds of joy and happiness within us. May we be able to seed them and to cultivate them within us.
Dankeschön, Brüder und Schwestern. Dankeschön, Freude.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much, friends. This is the end of the practice of touching the earth. Thank you very much, Thai Phap An, Sister Nghiem. Thank you very much to our sister Nghiem and Nghiem.